Hello, welcome to Drinks with Ron. I'm Ron, and about to have a drink. Very special drink. It's a drink I made for someone. Gonna be a long story. Got some pressure in there. It's an amber. Yeah, I'll just take the whole thing back to the beginning. Buddy of mine from high school, I used to hang out with a lot. Did a lot of stuff with his family. His parents did a lot of stuff for me, took me all over, taking pictures of different school events. The only pictures I actually have of myself doing any of this stuff, oddly enough. But, my buddy's dad came in and where I work and said, I talked to Jim, and he wanted me to say this word to you. And he's like, oh crap, I can't remember what it is. So now I started thinking, he's like, I'll have to ask him again. So in the meantime, now I threw a couple of guesses at him. I wasn't right. So I'm thinking about it for like 2 weeks, and kicking around different things it could be, because it could be a bajillion things. My thing in high school was odd phrases and sayings, writing them down, keeping a nice list, and cycling them through, making sure they got into the lexicon, because that was important to me. But it also served to really ingrain everything into my memory, so I still remember most of these. So even when just off the vague, Jim wanted me to say a word to you when I couldn't instantly come up with what word, it was driving me nuts. So I started thinking back through everything, and man, like I said, tons of memories. And I started thinking about all the things these people had done for me back in the day. And one of the things was we went on a trip to Minnesota, up to the cities, went to a Twins game and saw the St. Paul Saints, an independent league team, which was really cool. The whole trip was awesome. It was great of them to take me. And one of the things that stuck out about the trip was we went to dinner the one night, and his dad ordered an amber with his dinner. And me being a high school kid, I remember seeing them bring it out to the table and serve it, and I wanted one so bad. And it's like, I just remember it was just like biting my lip. I was waiting for blood to come trickling down. But really wanted that beer. So it really stuck in my head that he had ordered an amber. So I thought, hey, I'll make a batch of amber and I'll drop some off for him. So he ends up coming back a few weeks later, and he says, Aardvarks. And I said, obviously, Aardvarks. I should have known. And he's just looking at me like, what's Aardvarks? Jim just said to say it. It was for Jim's birthday. His parents took like a whole crew, like a dozen guys, on a camping trip up to a state park. So you get there, you stake out your sections that you've rented, and you all pitch tents, and that's first order business. You get your tents up, you get everything set. So we got that all done. Figure out who's sleeping where. I was gonna sleep with my buddy Chops. Had a tent, and it was called the Armadillo. What could sound better? More protective, more shielding from the elements than Armadillo. I had a certain sense of confidence going into this, and sure enough, within the first day it rains, and we're thinking, oh, let's go check the tent. And we ran down there. Chop unzipped it, and he looked in and saw a small lake of water encompassing the entire tent. And so mad at the armadillo, he instantly screamed to curse its name, getting it wrong, yelled Aardvarks at the top of his lungs, which then became a catchphrase that made my list and made the rounds for many years. It's still to this day, if there's a moment of intense anger at an object, Aardvarks will come out. So I started thinking more about that camping trip, and oh man, it was a doozy. It rained most of the time, And I'm sure this will come as a giant surprise, but I had a pretty big mouth back then. And the thing that sticks out to me the most, we were listening to a lot of Jerky Boys at the time, so I remember going to a lot of inside jokes with that. But the thing that I was listening to a lot of the time, I believe, was called Dr. Dirty, if you know what I'm talking about. Dirty limericks, very off-color jokes. I mean, this stuff would be like 70s or early 80s, and it was whoa out there then. It's still bad now. Like, I'm sure half the limericks you probably have heard. I still have them all committed to memory because clearly that's what we waste all that storage on. But yeah, I had me and Jim, like, we went canoeing. So we broke into twos because obviously it's how canoes do. So I ended up going with Jim. And, well, the main song on the album, it goes, eat, bite, never mind. Anyway, we had quite a bit of time in the canoe, and I had plenty of time to teach Jim the main chorus of this song, which goes, eat, bite, believe me, I know it. That's not the issue. I'm not covering for my memory here. But there was also, like I said, a ton of limericks. And this was so weird, man, because this was, like I said, early 90s. But to get something, I mean, there wasn't internet, there wasn't YouTube. Basically, this stuff came via the Underground Tape Railroad, as Mr. Show would later call it. But you had to know somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. So to get this tape, I got like a dub, off a dub, off a dub, off a dub, off of somebody's uncle's, I don't know, if it was a fucking 8-track or an album or what it was. But by the time it came to me with my shitty recording device and my really bad tape, it was just a ball of hiss. And the volume was so low, but it was enough that I could sit there and I could pick out all the things. So you kids, you damn kids will never understand. You just go, oh, YouTube it, and there it is. Like, nah, man, you had to work for your contraband audio back then. I mean, 2 Live Crew, that was a thing that was, man, I remember dudes charging for dubs off that. Seriously. I saw more than one dude hand over cash for a dub. It was, what a time to be alive. But I digress. As I said, I had learned all the limericks. Once there was a man from Nantucket, and the stories about him were greatly exaggerated. But yeah, anyway, so we're sitting around the fire, a bunch of freshman guys. I think only one of us had a license. The kid that got held back a grade or two, he had a car and a license. So that was, a lot of fun, see how many people you can cram into a car. But yeah, it rained, so we could sit around the fire. So second night, I think it was, maybe it was first night. So I'm kind of holding court and running down the list of limericks. Once was a man from Iraq with holes down the length of his... Yeah, so, this went on for about 20 minutes or so. And then I believe Jim's dad came down and says, hey, so everybody around here can hear every word you guys are saying. And by you guys, he meant this guy, because I was the only one spouting my mouth off. So then it's just like that instant thought of, oh my God, Jim's mom has been sitting there listening to me tell cock jokes for the last 20 minutes. Well, I guess all that house is out in the open now. But if I'm still allowed over at the house, I'm good. But they were entertaining. I mean, what can I say? So, like I said, after all this, I feel I at least owed these people some beer. So I had made a special batch of amber to take over there and dropped it off on the solstice when I did my solstice beer ferry run. Maybe I'll do an episode on that. But I got a frozen pizza in the oven, and I think I need to get on up there, because that's the right thing to do. So for Drinks with Ron, I'm Ron, signing off.